Well, hello, my baby gorillas, and how much fun is this in politics? We've got so much to cover. It's been a wee while since I did a self-taping, and to keep you abreast of what's happening in British politics. So, where to start? Let's start with what is going to happen and what I've already predicted. Nearly the schism, nearly the split in the Tory party. Boris Johnson quite correctly pushed to the one side the 21 Christian Democrats, the Bilderbergers, the One Nation Tories, Amber Rudd, who we all knew was part of this cabal, jumped ship as well. They're trying to get their way back into the Conservative Party when they're not really Conservatives. Over probably another 100 Remainers are also in the backbenches and through the Conservative Party and even in the Cabinet. So the Conservative Party is still split between Brexiteers and Remainers. So even if you vote Conservative and you like Boris Johnson, if you local MP is a Remainer and he's in a Leave constituency, he's still going to misrepresent you. So, I mean, that's absolutely massive. They're still got, because obviously central office picks the Christian Democrats ahead of Brexiteers or Remainers. That's why Nigel has set up this Brexit party and then parachutes them into even Leave constituencies. You have a misrepresentation because then the MP, if he's a Christian Democrat, as we've seen with Rory Stewart and all the guys I told you who it was going to be, Rory Stewart, Hammond, Amber Rudd, Fat Ken Clark, all of these liberals, illiberal liberals, undemocratic illiberal liberals in the Conservative Party, who were much better in the undemocratic, illiberal, liberal, undemocratic Democrats. And we can just see now that they're wanting to revoke Article 50. The largest referendum in British history, and these illiberal, undemocratic entities who want to keep us in the undemocratic EU where 28 unelected commissioners and unaccountable commissioners are dictating our legislation in a corporatist manner, probably all going to get their jobs from Goldman Sachs, who are obviously pulling the strings behind the scenes. And I'll come on at a later video to explain what's actually happened with me and how the interference of bankers and people who are in the financial services industry has had an adverse effect on my life and my opportunity to actually earn an income, and how corrupt the FCA is as well, and Financial Conduct Authority. But I'll come on to that at a later video. So, we've now, and Boris is ruling out, which is probably the stupidest thing. We're probably looking at a hung parliament. That Boris has ruled out a coalition with the Brexit party. And Nigel is standing down Brexit party potential candidates in ERG seats, which is the right thing to do. I would suggest that he should do the same in Labour seats with Kay Howie. And that Kay Howie, who is a Brexiteer, and there's certain other, Sarah Champion, I think, as well, is a Brexiteer, that if these people are voting in the correct manner, just like the ERG, there's no point in standing Brexit candidates against them as well. So, I mean, it's massive, but the Scottish Conservative Party are all full of Christian Democrats as well. And the Brexit Party, where they are Christian Democrats, where they are these One Nation Tories who are the globalist elitists, that the Brexit Party should stand candidates in Scotland and give the 1 million people who voted for Brexit in Scotland an opportunity not to vote for Remain parties like the Greens, the illiberal, liberal, undemocratic Democrats, the Labour Party. How embarrassing was Emily Thornberry trying to justify a position where she's going to go back to the EU and negotiate a deal She's going to negotiate a deal, which is basically soft Brexit, keeping us in the EU, in the single market and the customs union, which was voted against because we were told by the Prime Minister, David Cameron at the time, that we were going to leave the single market and leave the customs union. And now then they're going to give us a referendum on soft Brexit or remaining, not even having a no-deal Brexit, which is exactly what everybody voted for on the actual ballot paper. I mean, how undemocratic are these people? I don't know why people are voting for them. Like, people are saying, oh, my father voted Labour and so I've got to vote Labour. Smell the coffee, you don't have to vote Labour at all. I come from a working class background. My great-grandfather was a plater on the Clyde shipbuilding. My grandparents were both textile workers and Dak Simpsons. And you don't have to continually vote. You vote on the policy, not on the party. It's not a game of football. And obviously, there's now increasingly moves by people like in Grimsby in the north who are going to vote against the Labour Party, who were lifelong Labour supporters, because they are now Tom Watson. In fact, Tom Watson is now talking about saying that they want another referendum or to revoke it like the Liberal Democrats. So the Liberal Democrats on the policy of Brexit will go head to head with the illiberal, liberal, undemocratic Democrats, where Joe Swinton seems to be sucking in all the Christian Democrats and Social Democrats, all voting Joe Swinton. Oh, useless. So we've now seen wee Chubby Cherry, who was probably the worst MP ever, embarrassing the Scottish court system, because I don't think the court system even looked at the case. They just said, yes, we think that Boris had prorogued Parliament inappropriately, or his language towards the Queen was inappropriate, which is just nonsense anyway. I mean, all the other political parties have prorogued Parliament, and yet all of a sudden, because the judicial system, which I'll come back to, the Scottish judicial system, which needs an overhaul right immediately. There has to be a way of getting rid of bad judges as well, and we need to overhaul our judicial system. They said that this was illegal, but people have been proroguing Parliament for years and years, and all of a sudden it's illegal because the Remoaners are not getting what they wanted. Woof! I mean, it's fun and games. I think Boris should keep the 21 outside the Conservative Party, and there shouldn't be a way back for them. They should just join the illiberal Liberals. That's what they are anyway. And the fact that because the Conservative Party are split between the Christian Democrats and the Conservatives, and Brexit Conservatives and Christian Democratic Remainers, there's always going to be this split, and you're always going to have this two-way, depending on who pops up, split. You need to get the Conservatives with the Brexit Party, with Nigel, and get that as one entity, and let the Christian Democrats join with the Social Democrats and the liberal, undemocratic Democrats. Let them form up one party. This illusion that we've had a political choice. The Social Democrats, the Liberal Democrats and the Christian Democrats within the Conservative Party are effectively one party, and they want the similar policies, which are all pretty rubbish anyway. They're nearly as bad as the Labour Party, the loony left, who were denounced by Mr Manning, who had left the Labour Party, and called out Jeremy Corbyn, correctly so, for being a terrorist sympathiser. No, really a disgusting individual. And he correctly, although he's an independent, he may well join the Liberals, undemocratic Democrats as well. And the establishment, the British establishment, is throwing it all at the wall just now, including there's Tony Blair, the alleged war criminal, coming in and saying exactly what he said in the actual referendum, before the referendum, about, oh, we need to be part of a big bloc, and if we're a small bloc, although we're the 5th largest economy in the world, or maybe the 6th, but it's still irrelevant. We're still actually larger than some of the other countries that are up and coming, but it's through supporting, and this is what Tony Blair didn't do, and it's about supporting British entrepreneurs, which again neither the Conservatives, the Liberals, or the left of the Conservative Party are going to do anyway. We need to get probably a new party in there that supports and actually gives money to start-up companies that can actually then generate growth in our country, not purely from exports, even if it is to the EU. We should be also looking for free trade agreements. Now, with the WTO, as far as I'm being led to believe, that if you actually are in the WTO and say, for instance, you have a zero tariff deal with the EU, you have to offer it to everybody else in the world. I don't necessarily think the WTO is going to be the best option. Maybe bilateral trading agreements are going to be more beneficial. Obviously, that gives flexibility. If you don't want to do a free trade agreement with somebody, that gives you the flexibility not to do the free trade agreement. Although I believe in free trade where possible. But it gives you the flexibility. If you're tied into that structure from the WTO, that might not allow you the flexibility to do or to penalise somebody who is maybe doing the wrong things, maybe butchering their own people like most socialist countries do. And it's very interesting to see George Galloway defending the authoritarian communists of China who have now embraced capitalism. I mean, it's quite disgusting, George, in the fact that the brave people in Hong Kong were standing up against this authoritarianism. Oh, I mean, it's unbelievable. And that's the other thing, we're getting it in the UK. So what happens in Scotland is that anybody who's not a Remainer doesn't get invited to a local hustings. So that means that people can't hear, like from UKIP or Brexit Party or For Britain or anybody else, the Scottish Libertarian Party. They're not allowed to come. So you only get like the choice of the Remain Green Party or the Remain SNP Party or the Remain Liberal Party or the Remain Christian Democrats within the Conservative Party, because there's an overwhelming number of Christian Democrats or corporatist globalists at the highest echelons in the Conservative Party. So they're basically another Remain party in Scotland, although there are Brexiteers down south. So I think it's got to be the Brexit Party for me for the next election. I'm going to make sure I register to vote. If 17.4 million people vote for Nigel and the Brexit Party, then we're pulling the flush on Westminster, and we're going to have a whole new scenario. This is more important. It's more important that 17.4 million Brexiteers vote for the Brexit Party, not the Conservatives. I know everybody's raving about Boris, so isn't it fantastic? But you're still left with the problem in the Conservative Party, where half or over 100 and something 30 people, even the ones that are still there, up to 180, are still Remainers. They're still voted Remain, and they're part of that corporatist globalist elite. Unless you get rid of them all, including, well, obviously, as I said, the Brexit Party are not standing against Conservatives who voted against the May's terrible deal. Then we're going to have this always dichotomy on something that should be a pro-Brexit. We've got tons of other Brexit or Remain parties, but we don't actually have a Brexit Party. We need a Brexit Party to stand against the undemocratic EU, where the commissioners are dictating legislation. A lot of people, I think, don't understand or don't want to understand. It's the 28 unelected commissioners that set the legislation. They can't be removed, they can't be replaced by the people, and they're not accountable to the people in Europe. And they're setting that's the corporatist globalist agenda that's been backed by people like George Soros, who's not even not even British anyway. And he's basically with the globalist probably Goldman Sachs Bank and some of these nefarious characters who give out for politicians who have done their duty, give out positions and employ Remain people who they've been able to manipulate, who are not actually backing the democratic wishes of 17.4 million people who voted to leave the EU. which 3 years later, this is still not done. This is a massively, massively undemocratic situation that we've got in the Parliament, or with the Parliament, and this is definitely the people versus the Parliament, and more Remainers are now starting to come on board as well, because they see the lack of democracy because of these nebbishy people in the Labour Party and the Liberals, and there's fat Tom Watson talking about just ignoring the people, just like that clown Joe Swinton. She is, honestly. So, I mean, it's a massive, massive, massive thing just now. It's unbelievable. So where do I think, I always predict and I always get it right, guys. What's going to happen? The proroguing of Parliament was correct. It's not unlawful. The Scottish court was wrong, and they didn't really do a proper synopsis of what the proroguing was. It's been prorogued before, and it's not a set of precedence. So Joanna Cherry and Tommy Shepherd were basically wrong. So was the judicial system in Scotland. The actual judicial system in England was correct and said it's none of the judge's decision to actually whether or not Parliament should be prorogued, and I don't think they should be interfering. Although the SNP, because in the Supreme Court, so there was two, for people out with the UK, there's two systems in the UK. There's a Scottish system and the legal system for England and Wales, so there's two systems, each have a high court. The Scottish judges who are embarrassing, and I think we have to have an overhaul of our judicial system, said within minutes that this should be overturned, and this was unlawful. And the English judges, for England and Wales judges, said that this is not a matter for the English and Welsh judges. So now there's a Supreme Court which affects both lower houses, and it goes now to the Supreme Court, which I think is going to make judgment next week, which should say, and we don't know, but because obviously the political establishment packed full of their friends, that's why we've got a disproportionate amount of Remainers in the Parliament. That's why 3 years later we're not out of the EU. So whether or not there's a big Remain Supreme Court and they're going to back this, which is completely incorrect, this would be purely political by the judicial system, because doing the Queen's speech is completely in the parliamentary business of actually suspending Parliament for a few days. So this is massive. So they could call it back 7 days earlier. They've had 3 years to actually debate this, and they still haven't managed to get any further forward. 3 years, and we've not left the EU. We're spending £1 billion a month actually still being retained within the EU, which is good for the big pensions and the £2 million a year that the commissioners are getting, and greed in their fat limousines, and they're just greedy, unproductive individuals. And they want more and more power centralised in these unelected commissioners that's getting backed by our political class, like Tony Blair, the alleged war criminal. But you won't get me on the BBC or on ITV, because obviously they deliberately prevent anybody who can articulate the other side of the situation to not be allowed on the British media. That's how they control the news and how it's getting to you. Another way, if you actually look about the number of views I've actually got on my channel, I've only got like 56 in a video. So I'm quite clearly being blocked by YouTube. I've had all my LinkedIn profiles taken down. I've now had a Facebook profile taken down. And I'm a very much a modern libertarian liberalist, or a classical liberal, very much near the centre of British politics, but in the libertarian, not the authoritarian side. And so this is obviously being allowed to be done by our Parliament, because if our Parliament said if you want to do business in the UK, that you will not be able to do that, they could have brought that in, but it's obviously been worked by our globalists, who are preventing anybody like myself being allowed to speak and actually get any traction, get an audience. So if you can share this video it would be really appreciated, guys, if you can share it and get it out, put it on your social media and get it out to the people who want to do it. Same as Tommy Robinson, although our situations are different. Same as Tommy Robinson, and he is totally barred off all of the Silicon Valley. And so Silicon Valley is American companies are interfering in the UK, who are headquartered in America. They're not British companies, are interfering in British politics on behalf of the corporatist globalists. Oh, I mean, you couldn't actually write it. You actually couldn't write it. There's other things been happening as well. My phone wasn't working, I had to take it back, and they didn't actually remove all the details on it. So Apple could very well have all my information that they weren't able to delete in the store. There's all sorts of things that they're doing in a nebbishy way to prevent our democracy and to actually stall things within the Brexit process. So 3 years later, now they're trying to say, right, okay, we're going to overturn the largest democratic vote, and this is heading for trouble. This is heading for trouble. This is because the Parliament is stacked with the Remainers. And even if you support Boris Johnson and the Conservative, even if you think Boris Johnson is doing a good thing, you're still, if you're going to vote for the Conservative Party, you're still going to come back to the dichotomy of having two parties in one, where you've got the Christian Democrats, and unless you know where your MP stands on the actual issue of Brexit, whether you know that your guy is an avid Brexiteer and you're in a Brexit seat with the majority of people in Brexit, and that goes for the Labour Party as well, unless your guy, the MP that's standing, you need to find this out before you vote for them. Don't just vote for them because they're the Labour Party or the Conservatives. As a Brexiteer and you're in a Brexit seat, then you're sending back another Remainer, which has probably been placed in by central office and by the Labour Party and or the Conservatives. And you're going to return another Remainer who's going to misrepresent you again. Oh, so how's this potentially going to play out? We've already seen, after Jeremy Corbyn, what a chicken, asking for Parliament to be a general election, is now run away from a general election after wanting it. The Parliament has now stopped a no-deal Brexit. The traitors, the Christian Democrats, who are now trying to get sneaked back into the party, who should be kicked out and kept out. They should be joining the Liberal Party, the Liberal and Democratic Democrats, who Joe Swinton is just trying to revoke artificially. She's completely undemocratic to keep us in the undemocratic EU. Are now trying to sneak in and get lifelines. They shouldn't have any lifelines. They should be kicked out. They stand as independents or part of the illiberal Liberals. And there's Conservative or Brexiteers should be standing against them. The Brexit Party should be standing in Fat Ken's seat and Rory Stewart's seat and all these seats. There should be a Brexit Party alternative, and everybody who is a Brexiteer shouldn't be voting for Rory Stewart because he's a member of the Conservative Party, because obviously he's a Bilderberger and they're on their own agenda anyway. They're not even going to uphold the manifesto which they stood on. A bit like the Labour Party, who said, I mean, you need a Pinocchio nose and a red card to join the Labour Party, who said they were going to actually uphold the referendum, which is quite clear that they're not. They're going to negotiate a soft Brexit deal and then get another referendum and then vote against even the soft Brexit negotiated deal. I mean, you couldn't write it. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in politics. And Emily Thornberry, who is an absolute clown, is out there actually discussing that this is a viable proposition. Oh, so what's going to happen? And and this is tricky. This is actually very tricky. Boris has lost his majority. The 21 One Nation Bilderberger TRGers are outside the Conservative Party and are not going to be loyal to Boris and just going to cause problems. You would be better having them over with Joanna Swinton and joining with the Brexit Party. Now, Boris is allegedly ruled out a pact with the Brexit Party. Nigel has to go to Brexit Labour Party. He's already done the deal. Nigel Farage is in the Brexit Party. Already done the deal with the ERG within the Conservative Party. They have to also identify Brexiteers in the Labour Party. Kay Howie looks like she could jump from Labour to the Brexit Party. She's a very competent woman. And because obviously the Labour Party are goose-stepping, they'll be goose-stepping, I think they're down in Brighton, lessons down in Brighton now, where they'll just become anti-Semitic. Manning, who was a Labour MP, who left the Labour Party, is now an independent, is basically called him out in Parliament, saying he was full of extremists that have taken over the Labour Party, which is completely right. This is the Marxist fringe. You've got John Old MacDonald standing amongst communist flags in Trafalgar Square, while at the same time in Hong Kong, the brave liberal Hong Kong people are trying to fight against the tyranny of the Communist Party in China. And they're waving British and American flags, while we've got Antifa waving communist flags and kidding on they're not fascist or authoritarian. You've got even George Galloway defending the communist authoritarians in China. And you've got Old MacDonald was a clown in Trafalgar Square, backed with Red Stars who have killed 100 million people worldwide. And you've got the Manchester Labour Party who put up a statue to Frederick Engels, who advocated genocide of the Scots, the Britons, the Basques, the Welsh, and he advocated genocide of these people, of our people. And the Manchester Labour Party put a statue up to him. Him and Marx were the ideological inspiration for the genocide of 100 million people throughout Europe under communism. And further afield, China, Cambodia, and these clowns are actually the Chancellor. Can you imagine if that was a Nazi? Let's put it this way. Can you imagine it was a Nazi instead of there were Nazi flags in Trafalgar Square? And the outrage, but 100 million people died under communism, and it's okay for the shadow Chancellor and John MacDonald, who to economics what Fred West was to temporary lodgings. He is now potentially going to be Chancellor, and he's standing in front of communist flags. So what's going to happen? What's going to happen? This is very, very tricky, and it's even difficult for me to get my head around. Boris has lost his majority. Some other political non-entity has joined Joe Swinton from the Conservative Party when I was covering it down there. For that, Philip Lee, nobody's ever heard of. And somebody from the Labour Party, another Social Democrat, has joined Swinton as well, because these are all illiberal, just self-centred individuals, not interested in democracy, not interested in the referendum, only interested in their own selves and how to corrupt democracy. They've joined up, so you've got a whole bunch of absolute twats in the Liberal Party. So the 21 are now, so Boris is now in a minority government. The Labour Party don't want to call a general election. The Boris might actually hold a vote of no confidence in himself to actually force, because that means if the Labour Party refused to actually back the vote of no confidence that Boris would bring in himself, that means the Labour Party think Boris Johnson is competent. That and their absolutely incredibly stupid position in Brexit and alienating 5 million Labour supporters in the North, Midlands and Wales to the Brexit Party. I mean, Nigel could absolutely clean up. The Conservatives have to vote for the Brexit Party in these areas, and so do the Labour Party Brexiteers. Everybody has to vote for the Brexit Party, not the Conservatives, who have got a very bad reputation in these areas in the North, the Midlands and the Wales. They will have to vote for the Brexit Party. So that's one option, but I think there might be a backdoor legal way of Boris still getting out on a no-deal on the 31st of October and just absolutely sideblind all of these politicians. And that would be absolutely massive. Because they've tried to box him in, I think there might be a legal way for Boris to actually sideswipe the whole Parliament and still get a no-deal Brexit, which will make him a total hero. But it's still back to the same situation. If you vote for the Conservative, you're voting for the Christian Democratic, illiberal, liberal, Bilderberger, Nebuchadnezzar, Rory Stewart, and Ken Clark, the Palpatine and Darth Vader of the Bilderberg group. And we're still getting the same repeated mantra from Tony Blair that, we have to be part of this big union, blah, blah, blah. The same nonsense that he came out with that made him lose the referendum in the first place. We all know it's because of his own self-interest. Who's Tony Blair, who's now a multi-millionaire anyway since leaving number 10. So, all very interesting, very, very interesting. Please share this. All the descriptions, if you want to leave money, help the channel, it's all in the description, guys. I'm probably going to come off Facebook. I'm going to come off all these Twitter. They're all charlatans in Silicon Valley anyway. YouTube. These are all people I don't want to do business with. There is a chance that these companies could eventually be banned in the UK. If they can ban people arbitrarily, they can get banned in the UK as well. So that's something that they'll have to think about. So that's we're really a juxtaposition. So could Boris sideswipe the whole all of Parliament and actually come up with some legal technicality that will get us out in a no-deal Brexit, which will finalise the whole position, and that we can then start moving forward on policy for the UK. And in The Guardian, Merkel was complaining that we might become the Singapore of Europe, which is exactly what I would like to do. Singapore, Hong Kong, they've gone on from leaps and bounds, and that is probably the economic models that we would actually want to have for the UK. We could actually be flying in our own development, and that's certainly something that I would look for any political individual, any politician in the future to come up with economic models for the UK based on Singapore and Hong Kong. So that's the situation. So if Boris doesn't get it, he's then failed to actually do it on the 31st of October because of the traitors in the Conservative Party, the One Nation Tories, Amber Rudd, all those usual suspects who are not Conservatives. They're actual placements in there who are not representing the constituencies. I'm sure Rory Stewart's in a Leave constituency and he's basically stopped a no-deal Brexit. So whether or not Rory Stewart's going to be persona non grata, he's been muted to come up and become an MSP in Scotland, which I don't think we'll be voting for him either. So if that doesn't happen, if Boris doesn't get us out, then we'll see a general election in November, which I'll be voting for probably the Brexit Party, because they will have the greatest chance of getting a Brexit vote through, and not the Conservatives, the Brexit Party. And we know what we're getting because it's called the Brexit Party. And I would suggest that if you have voted, if you're one of the 1 million Scots who have voted to leave the EU, that you vote for the Brexit Party as well, not the Conservatives. It looks like the SNP are going to win every seat in Scotland anyway, who are now want to join, kind of work with the Labour Party, which makes them look just like Labour Party light. The SNP should change their name to the Scottish Globalist Party. There was Nicola Sturgeon in America speaking to the Trilateral Committee, who are the ultimate globalists, one world government exponents. And George Soros obviously paying money through his various NGOs into the UK to actually, and George Soros is not British, he never has been, paying money into to thwart the democratic will of the British people. Oh, so a new parliament, it looks like it could be a hung parliament. So nothing's going to be resolved there again. If Boris is not actually addressed the problem with the Christian Democrats and not going on board with Nigel, then we're going to see another hung parliament, and we'll probably see another election again. 2 more in the next year. And that's because you guys didn't vote for the Brexit Party in this election, which will probably be in November coming up. If Boris doesn't get in October the 31st, if he doesn't get a no-deal Brexit or a change in the Brexit deal, which he might actually get a slight changes in Theresa May's deal, which again isn't very good, and the ERG have already said that they're going to vote against that. If it's just a rehashed Theresa May deal. Oh, fun and games in politics. So, I mean, that's all massive. What would happen in a hung parliament because we've got the main parties, the Liberal Democrats, the Christian Democrats within the Conservative Party, Social Democrats, and now the Labour Party are all Remain. They're all basically Remain. So you have to vote for somebody who's not Remain. If you're actually a Brexiteer, you can't vote for the Labour Party and say, "Oh, I don't know why I'm not getting what I wanted for to actually have Brexit." You have to vote for the Brexit Party or even UKIP. But there's Richard Brain, who looks like he's highly competent individual, and he did the right thing, and I think standing down candidates at this general election, this one and potentially the next general election are the two that are going to define Brexit, and hopefully we'll be able to get rid of all the Remainers. But everybody who voted Brexit in the referendum has to register to vote. 17.4 million voting for the Brexit Party, and then we can flush out the whole of British politics. Oh, it's so much fun. I'm going to register to vote today. Hopefully get registered by tomorrow. And I'm looking forward to what's going to come up. I certainly won't be voting for the SNP again. They have been really, what happened to me in Dubai, which is, if you want to look at that, what Joanna Cherry said when I taped her, and thousands of people have seen what she actually did, how rude she was. I was allowed to starve for 2 years in the streets. Yet she's able to get something in a matter of days. I can't get anything through a Scottish court. I mean, it's quite incredible. I've had a lawyer trying to work on the discrimination for people with dyslexia and the ADD and other learning difficulties, and my lawyer can't even get it to court. Oh, unbelievable what's happening in Scotland. But they will be going soon enough. Right, my baby gorillas, I love you guys. So what do I think is going to happen? I think Boris is going to get it through on a technicality, a no-deal Brexit on a technicality. And everybody's going to be very upset, apart from the Brexiteers. And then he should join with Nigel and actually get the Brexit Party and Nigel in a new party, and get rid of the Hammonds and the Ken Clarks and the Rory Stewarts. And if you're in Rory Stewart's constituency, vote for the Brexit Party. Don't vote for Rory Stewart, because he's just going to go against what you actually want if you're a Brexiteer. I mean, it's crazy to vote for somebody who's been parachuted in by central office, who is a Remainer, and you're all voting for Brexit. They're just going to misrepresent you. Please share it. In the description in every video, there's ways of actually donating. If you want to donate, if you want to do things, I'm more than happy. I need to get to 1,000 subscribers. YouTube and Google, who own YouTube, have now prevented me from live streaming. I need 1,000 subscribers to actually get it back to be able to live stream, so I can go out live. This is going to be beneficial for everybody. YouTube is actually taking off my subscribers. As you add them, they take it off. So they're really trying to prevent me from live streaming. You've got to get up to 1,000. And it's another platform that's basically a bunch of no-users in Silicon Valley. And we have to start developing new platforms where these people in Silicon Valley who don't believe in free speech, or part of this authoritarianism that's creeping in, can't affect us. My baby gorillas, love you guys.